Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more. Robert Hugot was a devoted Sims enthusiast. He owned every game and expansion pack released by the company, and frequently scoured Sims-related sites for additional software to enhance his virtual families and their worlds. Recently, Bob had begun exploring a new, more private aspect of the game, crossdressing. He had accumulated a collection of elegant women's clothing, wigs, shoes, and lingerie, and wondered if he could recreate this experience for his in-game characters. After some tinkering with the clothing and body files, he found that he could modify male Sims to have female features, including heads, hairstyles, faces, and even bodies, if carefully configured. Bob, his wife's voice broke through his fantasy of transforming his male Sims into fully feminized characters. "Are you still playing that game?" she asked. "Yeah," Bob replied, quickly switching the screen to his custom neighborhood filled with his transformed Sims. "I just can't get enough of it. It's incredibly addictive." Clarissa gave a half-tolerant sigh. In their 7 years of marriage, Bob's only real flaw was his tendency to become obsessed with his latest computer fascination. "Just don't forget to go to work today," she teased. "Ah, honey," Bob said, closing the game and standing up to kiss her. "You know I'd never skip work over a game." "I know, dear," Clarissa said with a smile and a wink. "It's just that sometimes you get so absorbed in it that I almost expect to see a tiny version of you wandering around the neighborhoods you create." Bob shuddered slightly at the thought. The idea of being transformed and feminized like his in-game characters was unsettling, even if the concept was intriguing. He loved his wife deeply and had no desire to be subjected to a dom's control while dressed in women's clothing. "I'll try to stay away from it a bit more," he promised, heading out the door to his successful computer store. "Enjoy it, darling," she called after him. Clarissa knew Bob's obsession would eventually wane, but she hoped to speed up that process. She wanted to understand his secret pastimes better and had hoped he would share his interests with her voluntarily. She had discovered his collection of feminine clothing and wigs during their first year of marriage but had refrained from confronting him, hoping he would open up on his own. So far, that hadn't happened, and she wished she could find a way to express her support and even join him in his interests if only he would let her. With a sigh, she sat at Bob's computer and entered the password he was unaware she had. Her career as a software engineer not only provided a comfortable living but also gave her access to a range of tools she could experiment with on her own computer. Accessing the latest save file of the game Bob was currently engrossed in, she quickly reviewed the changes he had made with a wry smile. "Oh, Robert, you've been quite the creative troublemaker." She observed her husband's modified male Sims being dominated by female characters or even transforming into actual females with families of their own, before closing the game and delving into the program's core files. "I think this will add a new twist for you, dear," she said with a chuckle, inserting a disk into the CD drive and beginning to transfer its data into the game's executable files. "Once you use this program, I believe the game will lose its appeal for you." Any hesitation she had about using her cure or kill program disappeared as she recalled Bob stumbling off to work or family gatherings, bleary-eyed from late-night gaming sessions or downloading new files. Clarissa was genuinely concerned about his health if he continued this way and hoped this would help him reduce his almost constant involvement with the game. After the new application was installed and the triggers set, she shut down his system and carefully arranged the gifts she had brought home for Bob the day before. Bob returned home from his store with a sense of accomplishment. The day had been successful both professionally and personally. The store's performance was so promising that he was contemplating opening another location in the new mall, provided the rent and overhead costs were manageable. On the personal front, he carried a package containing a new memory upgrade for his system, one that would enhance the 3D video and sound files he already had. Installing it would take less than an hour, and the upgrade would enable his system to support the latest VR equipment and programs that had recently become available. Noticing the package on his desk in the den, Bob decided to check it out after installing the memory upgrade. He reached for his toolkit and began opening up his computer's cabinet. 45 minutes later, the upgrade was installed, tested, and functioning perfectly. Pleased with the results, Bob turned his attention to the package on his desk. Attached was a note in Clarissa's handwriting. "Darling, I'll be working late on a new project for the next few nights, so I won't be around much. I've managed to get some equipment that should enhance your gaming experience. Have fun with your new toys. I love you. Clarissa." Bob opened the package to find what appeared to be a pair of wraparound sunglasses with thick frames, a CD, and a wiring harness with an adapter for connecting to his USB ports. "Wow," he said, admiring the glasses. "These must be the new VR glasses Clarissa mentioned." It took only minutes to connect the equipment and get it ready. Bob inserted the earplugs, adjusted the glasses on his nose, and started the CD that came with the new gear. He then settled back, positioning the glasses comfortably over his eyes. The credits and intro appeared to swirl around him, and he could reach out and interact with the options displayed. When prompted to use the full memory capacity of his computer, he selected the Yes icon. He then chose to run The Sims in the VR setting and waited for the program to start. As Clarissa worked late on her project, her IM beeped for attention. She had neglected to mention to Bob that he was essentially a beta tester for the VR project. Opening the IM connection, she accessed a screen view of what was happening to her husband and prepared to oversee the virtual reality experience through her work system, linked to the mainframe supporting the VR project. "Okay, Bob," she murmured as the game screen appeared, "this is going to give your Sims minds of their own and put you in the passenger seat for the entire ride. Enjoy, darling." Unbeknownst to Clarissa, the new memory upgrade in Bob's home system provided just the extra power needed to transform the VR experience into something far more profound than a mere game. When she selected the command for total interface, the glasses emitted harmless light rays into Bob's eyes, which then traveled through his nervous system via the new light connection link, LCL, used by the glasses. In mere nanoseconds, Bob's mind, memories, and body were absorbed into his own system, transferred via DSL link to Clarissa's office system, and then integrated into the mainframe with all the data from his game setup. Clarissa, unaware of any issues due to the mainframe's failure to register problems and the absence of alarms, proceeded to start the program. Bob experienced a brief moment of disorientation before things snapped back into focus. He found himself within the character creation menu, but inside the character box rather than outside. His attempt to abort the process failed, and panic began to set in. "Hello, Bob," Clarissa's amplified voice echoed through the chamber. "You've already attempted the user abort routine and failed, haven't you, honey? Don't worry. This test run is completely safe. I thought you might enjoy living out some of your game fantasies in reality. Just relax and enjoy the experience. I'm in full control and will ensure nothing harmful happens. This program is designed to feel real, but remember, it's all simulated. Have fun." Bob tried to relax, awed by the detailed and lifelike surroundings. Although he felt confined in a large cabinet with no apparent exit, he trusted Clarissa and attempted to stay calm. However, he soon began to feel the first wave of transformations. He felt his head, face, and hair change with each new head option selected by Clarissa. The elastic sensation of altering features, the itch of growing hair, and the strange feeling of hair retracting into his scalp began to make him feel unwell. When the changes ceased, he realized his head felt heavy and immobile. A hand reached up, confirming his fear. His head had been transformed into that of the robot maid. His body underwent similar elastic, disturbing stretching and reshaping until it too settled into a metal form. Lifting a hand, Bob saw it had become an articulated, feminine gauntlet instead of flesh and blood. A mechanical soprano moan of delighted fear escaped him, and he could feel servos activating with his movements. A mirror materialized on the wall before him, revealing his new form as the robot maid, brushed aluminum, steel, plastic, and glass, fashioned into the likeness of a young woman in a short maid's uniform, complete with a tiny lace cap on his metal head. "So," Clarissa's voice carried a note of amusement, "how does it feel to be Roberta the robot maid for a few subjective days?" Bob, or rather Roberta, shook his head in protest, hoping Clarissa would understand. He had no fondness for his current form and had no desire to spend endless days cleaning, organizing, and cooking. "No, Clarissa, please change me back." "Oh, all right. Let's try something different." Once again, Bob felt the fluid, shifting sensation, which ended with his head and face transformed into those of a beautiful young blonde, her long, thick hair styled in a ponytail cascading down his metallic back like a golden waterfall. "OH, I love that," Clarissa cooed. "Pretty, sexy, and feminine. We'll keep this head for now. Let's find a body to match your lovely hair and face." The unsettling sensation returned as his body changed, now clad in a tight black miniskirt, heels, and a pink tank top. His chest was enormous, and his hips and bottom were equally prominent. Bob took a cautious breath and felt the weight of what must be 52 chests shift with his movements. "Now that's nice," Clarissa chuckled. "I could call you Cow and have you nursing all day with those magnificent chests. I'm sure you'd never run dry." The idea was not appealing to Bob, so he was relieved when his body began shifting again. This time, he found himself dressed in a vintage 1870s gown, complete with a corset, petticoats, and period shoes. "Now I like this," Clarissa said. "You'd fit right in at one of those antique houses you've set up, with gas lights, candles, and antique appliances. You'd make a perfect little housewife in that outfit. Doesn't that sound fun?" The rustling taffeta accompanied his every move as he examined the tight bodice of the green-striped gown. The sleeves were equally snug, restricting his arm movements, and the voluminous skirts hindered any rapid motion. "But I know which outfits are your favorites," Clarissa admitted, and the unsettling shifts began again. "So I'll get straight to those now. We've experimented enough, don't you think?" Bob soon found himself transformed into a woman with a sizable chest, dressed in a 1950s-style red and white polka-dot dress made of rustling satin. The mid-calf skirt flared out from the stiffened petticoats beneath, and a conical bra emphasized his chest, giving it a torpedo-like appearance. The half-length sleeves with white satin cuffs were snug but not restrictive, and the 3-inch heeled pumps on his dainty feet felt surprisingly comfortable. A white Peter Pan collar and a pearl choker adorned his neck. Suddenly, his name was Evelyn Louise Pratt, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't remember his previous name. "All right, Evelyn," Clarissa chuckled. "Let's configure your personality traits. Don't you just love your new name? Let's see," she said as she began to allocate points across different categories. Evelyn Louise Pratt ended up as exceptionally neat, slightly shy, and active enough to keep up with housework. She excelled at cooking and cleaning, though in terms of career, Evelyn was listed as unemployed, effectively making her a housewife. "Now I'll set your default to female," Clarissa continued, mostly to herself as she spoke to the newly named Evelyn. "Your default pajamas will be this charming little chemise nightie, and your default swimsuit will be this beautiful red number that flatters your figure." Once these changes were complete, Evelyn was fully female and locked into the role of a traditional 1950s-style housewife. "So my adorable, sexy Donna Reed-esque housewife needs a family, right?" Clarissa said, quickly selecting options for other members of the Pratt family: a husband, a son, a daughter, and infant twins, one of each gender. "Now I'll create and furnish a cozy suburban house for you and your new family, and let you settle in." Evelyn sighed with a satisfaction she didn't truly feel while polishing the tiled kitchen floor until it gleamed. With her husband at work, the twins napping, and the older kids at school, she had the time to catch up on the little tasks that had been neglected since the births of Barry and Jennifer. With the kitchen floor complete, she eagerly looked forward to dusting the front hall and living room, and then tackling the vacuuming. Clarissa deemed the test run a resounding success. Bob was now embodying the role of a content and traditional housewife and mother, performing exceptionally well as per the behavioral and personality programming. It was time to bring him back. She selected the Quit with Save option and began extracting Bob from the program. However, as he was removed from the serene house and ideal family scenario, a glitch occurred. The system started searching for the saved file of the original Bob as Evelyn was pulled out of the game and returned to real life. When Clarissa returned home the next morning, having spent additional hours analyzing and celebrating her success, she was greeted by the aroma of frying bacon, eggs, and toast. A cheerful, feminine voice welcomed her. "Hello, darling, did you have a good day at work?" Clicking heels on the freshly polished kitchen floor, Evelyn turned to greet her spouse and welcome Clarissa home.